Hello everyone, and welcome to this, my third of 3 videos on the Sony A390. That's the one we're working on today. Okay, that'll be alright. In the first video we covered what everything is. In the second video we did a complete operational run-through except for the menu systems, and that's what we're going to cover today. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about how to navigate the menus. You enter the menus by pressing the menu button. Now you use the control pads to go through the tabs, which are up here. And there are 4 different tab groups. They are recording, custom, playback, and setup. So camera is recording, gear is custom, playback is playback, and setup or settings, I forget which one it's called specifically, is the wrench. Okay, so you can scroll through the tabs. To enter the tab, you push the down button, and then you can select the item you want. To get into that item, you hit OK, and then you can select the item that you want. So if you are interested in a specific tab, check the video's description, and each of the tabs will be linked there. And then if you are looking for a specific item, get to that part of the video, that tab, and you'll be there pretty quickly. Okay, we're going to start here on recording tab 1, image size. This is only accessible if you have JPEG selected. Your JPEG settings are large, medium, and small. Large is the full sensor, medium is the same, it's the full sensor recording but downsized. Small is the same thing. It's the full sensor recorded, but downsized. Once you get a smaller image, you can't go back to the larger one. You can always reduce the size. Now, this was useful 15 years ago when a 32 gig memory card was like $150 or something like that. And, people were using 2 or 4 gig memory cards instead. But now that 32 gig memory cards cost about as much as a cup of coffee, it doesn't make any sense to go with anything smaller than large. Aspect ratio is 3:2 or 16:9. 3:2 is the full image sensor, 16:9 is a crop. If you're only ever going to be shooting like splash screens for videos or something like that, then you might want to shoot in 16:9. However, with 3:2, you can always crop down to 16:9. Once you lose part of the image sensor, you can't get it back. Quality, your options are RAW and JPEG, Fine, and Standard. Fine and Standard are your 2 JPEG only options. RAW and JPEG will give you a RAW file and a JPEG, and RAW is just a RAW file. RAW and JPEG exists because back in the day, like when this camera came out, Windows could not use RAW files as thumbnails. It could not pull a thumbnail off of them. So you'd have a RAW file and a JPEG next to each other, and then you can know, okay, here's my JPEG, I can see that image, that's what my RAW file is, I'm going to go look at that, that's the one I want. Versions of Windows 10 and later can pull thumbnails from RAW files. So there's no reason now to shoot RAW and JPEG. Just shoot RAW, you'll save a little bit of memory card space, and there you go. Now you can see, switching to RAW, I have lost my image size because RAW will only record at the full sensor. Flash compensation, flash is currently set to off. Let me back out of this, go to my flash mode. Okay, flash compensation is now active because I turned flash back on. This allows you to overclock or underclock the on-camera flash, as well as I think also some of the Sony flashes, but you can intentionally put more power out or less power. And this can be really useful for specific flash effects, for triggering other flashes without the light from your pop-up flash appearing in your image, or for doing things like fill flash if you wanted to do that, and just have the fill flash be to take the edge off of some shadows underneath people's noses or something like that. So that's what flash compensation does, more or less flash power. Autofocus illumination is auto or off. Do you want your autofocus points to illuminate in the optical viewfinder to tell you which one is active? Matter of personal preference and how you want your camera to communicate with you. SteadyShot on or off. Do you want the camera to use SteadyShot? This is up to you and how you want your camera to perform. For recording menu tab 2, the first option is color space RGB, standard or Adobe. So standard RGB is generally the one that's going to be best to choose. If you're super into the Adobe system, the Adobe ecosystem that is, you can use the Adobe, but if you use things other than Adobe, Adobe RGB can cause some conflicts. So standard RGB is universal across everything. It's a good, reliable setting to use there. These next 2 are grayed out because I'm shooting RAW, but if you're shooting JPEG, they'll be highlighted. They are long exposure noise reduction and high ISO noise reduction. With those, the camera will apply algorithms to long exposures. I don't know what the cutoff for that is. And high ISO images. I also don't know what the cutoff for that is. Usually it's above 400 with cameras of this age, but don't quote me on that. And I believe maybe with both of these, at least with long exposure, I think it takes a second photo, compares the noise, and then eliminates the noise from the one file that it keeps. At any rate, these are grayed out because the algorithms that this camera uses for that are 14 years old as of this video's recording. They're not going to get any younger in the future. So you can get free software that does noise reduction. You can do noise reduction in paid software that's not that expensive. And guess what? It's going to do a better job. So even if these are available, it's generally a good idea to ignore them and do this in post because modern software is way, way better than what this camera can do. Next up, in the custom menu, we have the iStart autofocus on or off. Okay, what this does is this has to do with iStart autofocus. These sensors right here will recognize if something's behind them, if they're enabled. And if so, when your eye is up here, does autofocus start as soon as you start looking in the viewfinder, or does it wait until you start pressing the shutter button halfway down? With on, autofocus will begin when you start looking through the viewfinder. So with off, it will not. So this is a matter of personal preference and how you want your camera to behave. Control dial setup, aperture or shutter speed. This relates to the control dial on the front of the camera. And if you remember when we talked about this, I said in manual, you adjust the control dial and it adjusts the aperture. And if you hold down AV, it adjusts the shutter speed. You can switch that with this menu item. And so this is a matter of personal preference. Canon defaulted to the front dial being for shutter speed. So if you were comfortable with that, if you're coming from Canons, you might want to do that setup. I tend to have the front dial control the aperture, and when there's a rear dial, have that control the shutter speed because aperture is in the front of the sensor, aperture is in the front of the camera, shutter is in the back of the camera. Makes it really easy for me to remember which dial does which. So even when there's only one camera, one dial on the camera rather, I set it to aperture so that all of my cameras perform in a consistent manner. But again, this is a matter of personal preference and what you want your camera to do. Red eye reduction on or off. Basically, do you want your flash to pulse before it takes a photo? If it's on, the flash will pulse. And that's used to close down the pupils of human subjects so that there's less red eye in photos of them. With on, that is going to really be helpful if you're using the pop-up flash. When you are using indirect flash, which is anything that's not pointed directly at the subject, using off will make your flash use a little bit better because the flash won't pulse before you take a photo. Auto review, off to 5 or 10 seconds. When you take a photo, do you want it to automatically pop up, yes or no? If no, off. If yes, for how long? I always leave this to off. I tend not to look at photos unless it's a really, really critical photo until I get home, because that way if I make a mistake, that's on me, right? So if you're here to learn to be a better photographer, allowing yourself to make mistakes and not be able to immediately correct them is a good idea. And you can also, with off, if you're really concerned about a photo or you do want to check one once in a while, or right when you're starting out to make sure your settings are dialed in, you can always hit play and check to see how they turned out. If you leave this to off, you'll likely have better battery preservation because you can turn off the display. And if you have the display off, with any of these being on, it will turn the display back on. So there you go for that. This next one is auto off with viewfinder, off or on. So I'm going to show you what this does. Okay, so off was how this was behaving before. I'm going to back out of this. And now if you put your eye in front of the viewfinder, the display will turn off. Okay, and with this one, if I turn this to off now, it doesn't. Okay, so this is a matter of personal preference and how you want your camera to behave. For shooting, I tend to leave this to on because I want to have, if I have the display on, I want it to turn off so I don't have this bright light right underneath my eye when I'm taking photos. For making videos, when I have my pencil moving right in front of the viewfinder all the time, I want to have that to off. In the playback menu, we have a bunch of different options that are only illuminated if you have an SD card or memory stick with photos on it. Delete allows you to delete individual photos, dates, and folders, I believe. Format allows you to format the whole memory card. Slideshow plays back a slideshow. Protect allows you to protect individual photos, groups of photos, things like that, so they can't be erased. Specify printing. If you hook your camera up to a printer, you can specify the order that the photos print in. I've never actually hooked any camera directly up to a printer. I like to do some editing, clean up dust spots on the images, or increase the sharpness, balance out the shadows and highlights a bit, things like that, before I print. So I've never printed an image straight from the camera. But if you're, again, one of these things, if you're here to become a better photographer and do a little bit of editing in your raw files and clean them up, you'll probably never print directly from your camera anyway. Last one is playback display, auto rotate, or manual rotate. Okay, basically this has to do with when you're playing back your images on the screen. If you took a landscape image, it will fill up this whole screen when you play it back. If you took a portrait orientation image, then with auto rotate, you'll have black letterboxing on the sides of the screen, and then your image will be automatically portrait orientation on the LCD. With manual rotation, it won't be. You'll have to manually rotate your camera, and then the portrait orientation image will still take up the whole screen. Like if you're taking a picture of a person, their shoulders might be here, their head might be right here, okay? This is just a matter of personal preference and how you want your camera to behave when you play back images. If we get here to the Setup menu, tab 1, LCD brightness, +2 down to -2, okay? And this is a matter of battery preservation here. Your camera's going to use less battery. Or if you're shooting out in the sun, shooting in a dark space, whatever, if you're making a YouTube video and you want to make sure people can actually see the LCD screen, you might want to jack up the brightness all the way to the top. Power save level, live view. Power save live view. Not sure why that's grayed out. Oh, there we go, because I was set to OVF on the switch up here. All right, so setting this to live view, the switch on the top, power save live view. I can set how long I want the camera to stay on in live view so that the camera doesn't turn off on me. So for instance, if I had this set in live view this whole time, every 20 seconds with my previous setting, the camera would have been, or the camera would have been powering off. Would have been very annoying for a video. So, but honestly, it's really kind of, I guess this is a nice control thing because you can have a different amount of power off time for live view, so that if you don't use live view as much, you can save your battery by having it turn off after 10 seconds or something like that. And then when you're in OVF mode, you can come down here and have a separate setting so that so if your display doesn't turn on when you're using your OVF, you can, optical viewfinder that is, you can have it stay on for 30 minutes at a time, or 5 minutes or something like that, which 5 minutes is more reasonable. So that you could, because the optical viewfinder doesn't drain the battery like the live view does. Okay, that makes sense to me now. Control for HDMI, on or off. Do you want the camera to control your HDMI, yes or no? This only applies if you hook up the camera to play a slideshow on a TV. I'm not the guy to ask about this. I don't own a TV, so I actually don't hook up cameras to TVs. Plus, if I'm gonna show people my photos, it's not going to be a roll straight off of my camera. I want to show them the best work, not just whatever's there. So I'll have something that connects to like my SmugMug page or something, right? This basically is going to be, if you hook up your camera to a TV and it works, then you've got the right setting. If you hook up your camera to a TV and it doesn't work, try the other setting. Display color, black, white, brown, or pink. What do you want the display to look like? Fair warning, this is going to be kind of hideous in a sec. White, really bright. Brown, actually not bad. Like, honestly, kind of a pleasing color scheme. Pink, a little bit much. And then we'll go back to black because that's just the easiest to read, okay, especially on a video like this. But this is a matter of personal preference and how bright you want your screen to be, how you want the image to be, the information to be presented, what colors your eyes see best, things like that. Help guide display off or on. With on, you'll get help guide information at certain times when you do different things. So this is a matter of personal preference and how well you know the settings. Do you feel like you need to have a help guide or do you not need to have a help guide? We're going to come in here to Setup menu tab number 2, and right up at the top is date and time setup. Now, 1/1/2010. Basically, every time I turn this camera's power off, it forgets what date it is. Anytime I remove the battery, it forgets what date it is. What that tells me is that this camera has a button cell battery on the circuit board, and that button cell battery has died because it can't remember the date from power cycle to power cycle, which means that every time I boot it up, I have to enter the date if I want to. If I skip booting it up and forget to do that, well, then this is where I can come to enter the date manually. Language is English, French, or any of these other ones that you can pick from in here. There's a handful of them. And what language do you want the menus and help guide to be in? File number, series, or reset. With series, the file numbering will start at 0001, go through 9999, and then cycle. With reset, you can manually reset the file numbering if you want to do that. So the memory card only has 1,500 images. If you wanted to manually reset the photos, the file numbering, say every 3 or 4 memory card dumps, or 6, however many you felt like it, then you could do that, because one of my only frustration with series file numbering is when you're just shooting around for the day and you get to 9999 and then it cycles, and then on the same day, and then if you're trying to see the photos in chronological order and sort them by file name, because that makes editing easier. Anyway, first world problems, I know. But so this is a matter of personal preference, when and if you ever reset the file numbering. Folder name is date form or standard form. Matter of personal preference. With standard form, it'll just give you a standard folder. With date, it will, I'm pretty certain with this camera anyway, I know with my A7 IV anyway, I get a different folder every day. So I don't know if it gives you a different folder every day with standard or not. I like date form simply because I can drop all the folders then for every day that I'm out taking photos onto my computer when I get home, and then I can easily see which folder was for which date and change the folder name to my standard file naming convention. Select folder and new folder allow you to select the folder that is on the memory card. It will only be lit up if there's a memory card in the camera. And then new folder allows you to create a new folder. And this way, let's say, for instance, you are doing 2 photo shoots on the same day for 2 different clients. You can have your photos for the morning client be in one folder, go in here, hit new folder, create a new folder for your afternoon client, and have all the photos go into that folder once you select it, so that you can easily sort out the photos for the 2 different clients. And our last setup menu tab begins here with USB connection, mass storage, or peer-to-peer. This is if you are going to connect the USB port here to your computer to do file transfer. As we talked about in the first video, this is a very slow, very old USB port, probably USB 1, so it doesn't matter what you set this to. You should eject your SD card, put your SD card in your computer, transfer the files that way, and they'll go much more quickly. Audio signals off or on. Do you want your camera to send you audio signals like a beep when it achieves focus? If it can't achieve focus, things like that. How do you want your camera to communicate with you? And also, like, what kind of setting are you shooting in? You probably don't want to have this to on if you're at, like, I don't know, a play. That's a matter of personal preference and how you want your information. Pixel mapping will allow you to pixel map images. Or pixel map your sensor. I'm not sure why that's grayed out. But it will look for dead pixels and hot pixels on the sensor, and then use software to clone those out while the photo's being taken so that they don't show up on your images. Cleaning mode allows you to access cleaning mode, so you can the sensor will shake a little bit, and then the mirror and shutter will pop open, and you can use a bulb blower and a little soft brush to clean the sensor off if you have dust on there. Version is your software version, which is 1.0. And fun fact about the A390, version 1.0 is the final firmware version. This camera never had a firmware update, so you don't have to worry about that. And lastly, we have reset to defaults. This will allow you to go through and reset all of the settings in the camera to the factory default settings. So if you've just gotten this camera and you want to start over from scratch, that would be a good way to go. Probably not a great option to do this if you have just gone through this entire menu with me and set up all of the settings as you want them to be for your photos. And that is it for the Sony A390. Everything that you could, I hope, want to know about how to get started with the A390. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you in whatever videos come next.